Good morning, everybody. I don't know what time zone you're in. If it's nighttime, then good evening, good night. This is your boy Kent with WSTL. You know what that stands for? It stands for We Speak, They Listen. Rex. See, they listen. Good boy. So I thought I'd talk about something that was kind of on my heart to talk about. A little bit about me. I'm definitely what I consider a very, very, very honest person, to the point that sometimes, excuse me, sometimes people think that I'm too blunt, right? But that's how I was raised. I was raised to be very straightforward, and want somebody? Ain't no fun. The homies can't have none, right? I was raised that not too much. I want to get you so you get your breakfast in. I want you to get too full of this water. But I love you, buddy. Drink. Good boy. Leave it. Good boy. Nice. Good boy, buddy. So now back to the video. So as the title suggests, I definitely want to dive into that. We're gonna get right into it. There's a big, people like to call it the elephant in the room. I like to call it a family of giraffes with some dirty, mucky mud and everything nasty. And this family of giraffes is standing in a big living room, barely making it in there, obviously, because their necks are extremely long. And everyone's acting like they're not there. Why am I using that as a metaphor? So let's be completely honest. When it comes to dog behavior, and I have a lot of experience on this, and I can care less who agrees, who disagrees. This is just the facts. People always want to put all the blame on the dog. Excuse me, on the human. Like the human is 90% of 95% of what the dog problem is. To some extent, I'm gonna say that's not true. I feel like it has a lot to do with the situation versus just a vast whole. And what I mean by that is situation by situation basis. So for instance, let me give you an example. So like, let's say you have a 4-month puppy, right? Doesn't matter what breed it is, right? Came from a loving, had both his parents, everything gene wise is okay. And the dog was groomed from since 4 months all the way up until adulthood. That particular instance would not count because obviously the owner invested the time to get the dog where the dog's supposed to be, right? So that's a little bit different. What I'm talking about is a series of events that kind of trickles the temperament of the dog in a lot of ways, or shapes their behavior or the outcome of how they act, right? For instance, I'm talking about the topic of particularly rescue shelter dogs. So a lot of times it's not always the individual that's responsible for the dog's behavior. A lot of times, a lot of the behavior that you're receiving from shelter dogs is due to learned behaviors within that facility. And a learned behavior basically is a behavior that the dog picked up on his own and taught himself that, and by him teaching himself that, he kind of goes along with that behavior because he thinks that's what's right and that's what's right to him because he learned it. The problem with that is, in the shelter, there's a lot of bad learned behaviors. I look at the shelter, in my opinion, like a prison. You know, a lot of the dogs have not been rehabilitated the proper way before they come out and they are exposed to the public. Good boy, Rex. Good boy. Before they are, I love Rex. Excuse me. Before they are exposed to the public. And what that means is that when they come out, however they were in there with these learned behaviors, that's what you're going to get. So a lot of times, let's just talk about whatever comes to mind. So a lot of times these dogs, I'm going to be honest, mentally messed up. And everyone wants to look over that, and they want to be like, oh, well, the dog just needs love. Yeah, we know what the dog needs, but let's keep it real. A lot of times the dogs are mentally messed up and emotionally messed up, because here it is. They learned this learned behavior, right? Someone picks them up, decides to take them home. Now that learned behavior could be excessive barking, because when they were inside, I'm just gonna say whatever comes to mind. When they were inside the penitentiary, they learned that excessive barking gets the attention of the human. They never used to be like that, but because every dog around them is barking and constantly, that's driving them crazy. So they feel like, fuck it, if I can't beat them, join them, kind of situation. And then they start learning that behavior. So when you take them home, they're gonna be doing this excessive barking because they've been doing that for how many days? And it's even worse the longer they've been in the shelter. That's more problems that they're learning from other dogs, because dogs have a tendency from learning from other dogs. That's facts. Whether you're a professional or not, or you just have spent enough time with dogs. You have 3 dogs, whoever is the lead top dog is going to trickle down all the way to the other dogs, and they're going to follow his lead, and they're going to all follow each other based off of learned behaviors, like I talked about. This could be good or bad, but in most cases it's bad because people don't take the time to rehabilitate the dog, or going into the shelter with a mindset that there is serious rehabilitation. I'm emphasizing on serious rehabilitation. It's not just like a dog that you go take out and it's like, oh, he's gonna be like a 4-month who has had both his parents and who hasn't had many bad experiences. That dog's gonna be totally different from a shelter dog. A shelter dog has been returned several times, lack of trust. And a lot of times it's not always just because of the person bringing them back to shelter. Let's be honest. Maybe it's a problematic dog in general. There's certain things that the dog tends to do, or the temperament that the dog has from these learned behaviors has created a serious problem for the individual to where they don't want to deal with that. And what makes this true, you find a lot of trainers that when they train these dogs, they want to consider them untrainable. But what they really don't want to tell you is that the dog is messed up in the head. So they try to label it untrainable. It's not that it's fact that it's untrainable. It's just the fact that the dog's messed up. It's just like you get someone from the prison system who has been in the penitentiary for, I don't know, whatever, 10 plus years. Now they go in there, they become better criminals. They go in there and they learn new learned behaviors. It's the same thing. If someone went in there for aggravated robbery and they go inside the penitentiary, now they learn I don't know, how to build, how to steal cars, or how to do whatever from someone else who learned that or was unsuccessful. They learn from each other and they crisscross and learn each other's behaviors. So when they come back out, do you think they come back out better? No, they can come back out worse. So every time the dog is rehomed or resheltered, they go back worse, because they're learning from other dogs that they've never seen before with other bad behaviors. And one of the biggest problems in the shelter is housebreaking. If you go, I don't care what shelter you go to, there's very few there, and I've never seen one, correct me if I'm wrong, but most shelters, if you go in there, you check like the actual kennels, there is urine everywhere, there is feces everywhere. And people don't really look at it, they just go in there and they just clean up the kennel, but they don't realize that is a dog creating another learned behavior. That what the dog is creating in that moment is, oh, wherever I lay, I just urinate or I defecate. That's a bad behavior to learn. And if they do that more than 21 days or even longer, that's why you find when you take them home, they urinate in the house. They do these things that you really detest and don't like at all. That's because they learned that in the shelter. And it was and you know, dogs learn from association and consistency. So if they consistently keep doing that bad behavior, that's not gonna get out of them right away, if at all. And that is a problem. Me being who I am, I'm always a very level-headed person, but I'm also very honest, and I always see two sides of the story. People always want to put it all on the humans. No, it's not always on the humans. A lot of times it's just the dog by itself is messed up, period. Some of them are not coming back from that, unfortunately. Just like some of the people who go to the penitentiary and they're messed up in their head, some of them, they just can't be rehabilitated. They're so far gone that there's no helping them, unfortunately. When you think of, I'm not saying that you can't rehome a dog, because by all means we want to get more dogs in homes and places outside of, we want more, let me put it back to what I was saying, we want rehabilitation. Be willing to rehabilitate the dog and put a whole lot of time into correcting all of the bad behaviors, and be patient, because that's what patience is going to be the biggest thing that you really have to deal with. And it's going to be very frustrating. It's going to be very trying at a lot of times. Let's be honest, it's going to be very frustrating, because a lot of things that you're going to be dealing with that dog, most people who are have their dog from different breeders and are not dealing with those problems. So you got to be willing to put a lot of time and effort whenever you take a shelter dog. That's one thing that people are not talking about, that goes unnoticed, but that is a big problem. I was thinking about maybe I should start like a podcast on just talking about dogs and just from my experiences and stuff like that. If y'all think I should start a podcast for WSTL, make sure you comment below, start podcast. And if I get enough people that want to support it, I'll definitely do it, because I have tons of experience dealing with shelter and rescue dogs. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. In fact, I specialize in that industry. So a lot of times when I do go to the shelter, sometimes I just go just to observe people and see how they pick dogs. And a lot of times they don't even know how to pick dogs. That's another thing. They don't even know how to pick their companion properly. Most people, 95% of people go off of looks. That is the biggest problem that starts right there. Oh, this dog is so cute. This could be the cutest devil. You should be going off of temperament first. You should be going off of understanding of, because you got to also realize too, outside of the temperament, outside of the breed, you got to realize, like, it goes back to what I said before. Even though the breed might specialize in being, or let's say like a sport breed or overly energetic, you got to realize that when they've been damaged, when they've been damaged, a lot of their normal tendencies are not going to show in that breed the way it normally would show, because remember, they've been reformed into new behaviors. So you might expect for this dog overly energetic, but because he's been damaged so bad, you find that he's actually shallow and shy and don't really want to come out of his shell. And then you find that he's like a couch potato or a vegetable, and don't want to do nothing all day but cause problems and chew things up and do the total opposite of what you was expecting out of that breed. Choosing dogs because of their looks is the worst freaking decision to make when you go into the shelter. I'm not saying that you can't get a dog that you are attracted to, but I'm saying the most important thing, and when we're talking about a list of importance, number one should be temperament, period. Because what's going to happen is you're going to choose that cute dog and return him back within the next couple of days, 2-3 days, maybe even 24 hours, depending on how they act. So you need to be going in the shelter with that type of mindset, looking for temperament first. Temperament is number one. After number one, in my opinion, how friendly the dog is, how willing the dog is to try new things, how open is the dog to experiencing new people, how did he act, If you go up to the kennel and the dog is kind of off in the corner and doesn't want to greet you, that's a clear sign that that's a no. Should not be a pick. I don't care how cute the dog is. That's a sign that the dog has been damaged and desensitized from humans in a lot of ways, and lacks a lot of trust. You do not want to pick that dog. Okay, how it looks, because that is a hidden, unlearned behavior that you don't know about. And then when you finally take that dog home and that monster really comes out, then it's like, oh shoot, who the hell is this? I thought you were cute. Yeah, you didn't spend enough time to figure out what he was really like. And a lot of times these shelters, they would try to scar you for returning the dog, knowing that they know the dog is the problem. But you got to realize they know a lot. They don't know, I'm saying they know a lot about the dog, but they know enough about the dog to be able to write and take notes in the system based off of their own experiences. That's like if I worked at a shelter and I see that this dog has a tendency of being leash aggressive with other dogs, I'm gonna know that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't know anything about this dog. No, I work with this dog every day. He likes to freaking chew on the collar, and he likes to try to on the lead, and he likes to try to go after other dogs to try to take their head off. I know that about him. But in order for me to get him home, I gotta lie and get him in your home. I gotta lie and say, oh, he has no problems. I don't see anything in the notes. They say this shit all the time, and it's all lies. Let's be honest. I don't give a lot of people gonna dislike this video. I don't give a damn. The truth has to get out, and a lot of people will respect me for telling the truth. A lot of times these shelters are lying. Period. They're saying a bunch of fluffy shit in order to get you to get the dog out of there, because it's either you get the dog out of there or they're gonna get the dog out of there. You know what I mean by that? Euthanization. They're gonna take the dog out. And why they're taking the dog out? Obviously because the shelter's packed, but outside they're just getting tired of dealing with the dog because they know the dog is a problem. Is this video making people uncomfortable at this moment? Probably. But sometimes you gotta get uncomfortable to get comfortable. You gotta address the giraffes inside the room with all this mess, and finally cut the roof off and let them expose their necks and stretch out and everything, and walk their way over the top of the door, however the hell they get out, and let them out so that the whole living room can get clean. Not keeping them stuck inside the house knowing that there's a problem and trying to act like they're not there. And then you also don't want to be fooled by dogs that are overly friendly. Because there's some dogs that in the shelter, when they come to you, they're like overly friendly. They licking the hell out of your hand. And you're like, oh, this is friendly. This is a good boy. A lot of times they're so desperate to get out of there that they're overly friendly. But that does not mean that they have, still doesn't have learned behavior or bad tendencies underneath that. Yeah, it does feel like a catch-22, like you lose, it's a lose-lose, but that's not true. The truth is you have to spend time with the dog. Get with a professional who knows specifically how to handle these situations. That's number one. That's the best advice I can give. Get with a professional who specializes in these type of categories so that you don't waste your time and you don't waste the dog's time, and everyone gets the benefit. Just from my experiences, whenever I got a dog from the shelter, I will always spend time with it, obviously at the shelter, but I would do certain things that evokes triggers within the dog to figure out if that dog is problematic or not. And that's from experience. So I would let the dog, for instance, I'll let the dog, when as I'm walking him, I would get really, really close to, let's say someone else was walking their dog out of the shelter, they also had a dog. I would get really, really close to their dog to see if that dog I was using or the dog I had at the time was leash reactive. Just to see if that was a trigger. How socialized is he? Is he overly socialized? Is he pulling on the leash to get to certain things? And that lets me know that he's been under socialized, and then there could be a further problem. Or the opposite. When I take him next to the next dog, does he want to take that other dog head off? And if I see that as a trigger, that's not a good selection. That's bad on my end for taking that dog home, knowing that I know he has that problem. And people are like, oh, well, you can just get that corrected. Yeah, but that's another thing too. And I should probably put that for another video. That's another thing too. Correction, I'll be honest, correction is meant to make them behave, right? Or do less of that bad behavior, right? Altogether, right? But let's look at it like this. Let's say we took correction out of the category. or out of this topic right now. Let's say we just went based off of just how the dog behaves. The dog will continue to do what the dog wants to do. Once the dog has made his mind up, it's no one on earth is going to stop that dog from doing what the dog wants to do, which means that is that dog's makeup. We use correction to get rid of the behavior we don't like, but really we use a correction to do less of that behavior in the dog, because that's just who the dog is. So the dog, if the dog is trying to get really, really nasty and he sees another dog and just wants to excessively bark and just lunge at the dog and really want to take the dog head off, at that point, that's the dog's makeup. That's just how he feels. He wants to take the dog head off. And we will use correction because that's a no and it's obviously unacceptable. But let's say we didn't use correct. Let's say we let that happen, like most people who don't know what they're doing with their dogs. That is allowing the dog also going back to what I said before, it also allows the dog to do another learned behavior or reinforce that negative behavior that the dog priorly learned or already had in him. That's just who the dog is. And because that individual got too much dog, now that's overwhelming, guess what's going to happen? That dog going to get sent right back to the shelter again. And then the shelter goes going, they're going to be like, what? You saying Zephyr back? Zephyr? He's good. No, they try to make you seem like something wrong with you. No, they knew what was going on with that dog before that dog left. Now in their mind, they're like, oh, there's another one that can get put down. That's what they do. They put the dogs down, then they replace them. They put the dog down, then they replace them. And then they get these walkers in there. What the hell are they? They basically wasting the dog's time. What are these walkers? I'm not talking about walkers like outside of who like walk people's dogs. That's different. But I'm talking about like the walkers inside the shelter specifically. Why are they there? That's a pointless job. If anything, there should be dog trainers in the shelter help rehabilitating these dogs versus a dog walker just walking a dog to help them get their frustration out. That's not going to change the mental aspect of these dogs that are messed up. You got to go through the mud with these dogs. Rehabilitation means that you got to take them there to a place that they don't want to go and really get out of that problem. They have to face these issues and you have to correct these issues out of the dog. No positive treats. None of that shit is going to work, period. You have to take them there if you know what you're doing, like myself. There's so much to talk about. I was running on almost 30 minutes. I'm going to wrap this video up, but if you found value in this, make sure you like, share, subscribe to support your boy, because we different over here. We definitely we touching the industry different. I hear nobody else talking about this. I've been on YouTube for many years and I've never seen anybody address it the way how I've addressed this. This is truth today. Today is the turning point for new way of thinking when it comes to dog selection. I want to put out there too that if you're having issues with your dogs, make sure that you check out my 30-minute training video. It's going for only $100. If you're interested in that, hit me up in my DM or comment below interested in training video, and I'll send you the email should be somewhere on the website, or excuse me, somewhere on the channel, but it's wstlacademy@gmail.com. Only serious inquiries I'm interested in. Not people wasting my time, because I don't have time to waste. Because the time wasted is another time lost. So y'all be blessed today. Stay safe. And it's just something to think about today. Love y'all. Peace.